Welcome, everyone, to part 3 with Penelope Holt and her book, The Angel Scrawl, an amazing writing. You have to get it. Go to her website, penelopeholt.com, for more. But back to Penelope right now, or Pen, as she prefers to be called by friends like me, perhaps stumbled over her name a little bit. But anyway, we're talking before this about, in part 2, bringing forth this consciousness that people have. And as people go through it, you referred to Yeshua as in part of your book as well. And coincidence? I don't think so.
Well, I think that the new way, in some ways, partly with the emergence of atheism, but the New Age movement sort of got a bad reputation, you know, crystals and trendy things. And I think something that's happening even with shows like yours is that it's becoming grounded again. And so it's becoming a grounded and stable pursuit by grounded, stable people, because it takes grounded, stable people with their feet on the ground to talk about what's happening in the heavens, right? So that's why in writing the book, I wanted Claire to explore all of these different faith traditions from the point of view as a skeptic. She's confused. She doesn't know. And oh, by the way, she's seeing her visions through the Vesica Piscis, which you know is part of sacred geometry. There's an opening, the shape of the Vesica Piscis, the fish sign, and she sees her visions. And so her materialist scientific doctor said, "Oh, you must have there must be something wrong with your optic nerve. It's got to be physical, right?" So she's got a Buddhist telling her, an anthropologist, a Benedictine, and a doctor, all giving her different accounts. But I think that's the way people feel. They feel like there are all of these different claims and stories and faith traditions. What should I believe? And what's your point of view on finding your own path when there's so much out there that is, unified at the deepest level, but also quite contradictory?
Well, first of all, if you're asking me, it's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of when you walk into the forest, when you're outside looking in, it looks all green. And you see some trees. And then you get inside, and there is a world of animals and leaves and plants and birds, and there's so much going on. But from the outside looking in, it looked very singular, a single dimension, if you will. So to have 3D spirituality is to get involved. And as soon as you do that, all these things come at you. Okay, you're all of a sudden, you're a candle, and all the thought forms are like moths coming to you to influence you, because now you're perceiving them.
Yeah.
And it's your spiritual journey to discern what's truth, what's important. Look up, don't look down. Look forward, don't look back. And so how else can you learn spirituality than by going through these things that you have to sort out as to what's truthful? And people, you're supposed to have bruises. You're supposed to have hard times. Yeshua said, if you want to be like me, follow in my footsteps, but I'm warning you, it's going to be tough. And that's what he's talking about, long suffering. It's the only way. Esoterically, people can gain information, books and gurus, but experientially, that's how you learn, hands-on, if you will. And so that was my journey. But to put these things together, to give you this, to put together what you're saying today, is that you're showing people there's the forest. You have to get through the other side.
Yeah.
I can point the way, but you have to take your steps. And so it's confusing and confounding, but I put it, where's the money? Follow the money. If somebody's selling pyramids or crystals or whatever, look at their life. What do they do? Do they practice what they preach? Are they attempting to be good people all the time, or do they have bias? Or, we shouldn't have a narrow point of view. We should have a broad point of view. And your book, I was just reading, this modern day epic full of revelations and transformational characters, including Benedictine monk, a Buddhist, and a professor of ancient godness worship. Together, they invite Claire to challenge old beliefs and open herself up to the miraculous. That's what your book is doing, I think. It's getting people to that point of saying there's a whole lot more. Take your steps. But you've laid it out here in this story, and I think it's just uh, amazing that somehow you said 4 years to put this together.
Mhm. On
That's
and
a
off.
lot.
Yeah.
That, how many making fun of it, how many time zones did you have to go through to spend 4 years? That's an enormous effort. And that's
Well,
about the right time for a spiritual journey. It takes about
yeah,
4
it was
my
stop
humble.
and start in different iterations and rewriting of it.
Yeah.
To and then I lost my sister,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and it just sort of compelled me to return to it, and sort of the time was right, because it's really the questioning that Claire has is really driven by grief. And I found in that,
We all
um,
are. Tragedy always
you know
wins.
this, that if you don't have after my sister died, I kind of adopted the mantra that I wanted to live with gratitude, acceptance, optimism, and purpose.
Very
And in
good.
those dark moments, you have to become very purposeful about, you shouldn't be on a bad diet of food, and you shouldn't be on a bad diet of thinking and thoughts. And when you're in those dark, places, I think it's really important that you create you're very purposeful about what you tell yourself, so that you can make your way back to the light.
Well, you didn't stop, number one.
Yeah.
Two, you kept going because for whatever was driving you internally, there was something. May I ask you, did your sister ever return to you in a dream at all and visit
Yes.
you?
Yes, she comes to me in dreams.
That was a rhetorical question, actually, but
Yeah, well, you know that. Yeah.
yes, but our listeners, I had to let them listen to that. So, and usually when people come back, they look younger, they're happier. How did she appear? That something similar? Or?
Yeah, just she was very fun, my sister, and she shows up just when before she was sick, when she was just fun. She was very mischievous and twinkling, and uh, so you have those dreams and they're real, and you wake up and you say, "Oh my goodness, it felt like she was really here," and it's like you've had a visit, so
That's what
it's
I call them.
comforting.
They're visitations. They're not dreams. And she's doing the effort coming back. They on the other side have to pick the time and place, and so she's looking out for you still. That's fantastic.
She always did in life. She always looked out for me.
Oh, that's wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about those people that believe in the dark side, or that like life is so terrible. How can we get them? How can we show them through Claire's experiences that don't look down, look up. Don't look back, look forward. Forgive yourself. I find people sometime in depression have huge regrets, but they don't know how to forgive themselves. Well, how did Claire handle that?
Well, there's that old saying, if you always do what you always did, then you always get what you always got. Um, and I think it was, I grew up, I went to a Catholic school, a convent school, so there was a lot religious education every day and mass, and I'm very grateful for that. It gave me a really good foundation. Was it St. Thomas Aquinas said that when in doubt, pray? I think
Mhm.
people trap themselves believing that it's that their thoughts, one thought leads to another. And so I think what's wonderful about prayer is you open yourself up to the answer coming in, rather than predicting. Or if you're in a bad mind space, then you're projecting more bad mind space. So you have to change that mind space, and that means you've got to let some light in. And how are you going to let the light in? You're going to ask for it, you're going to pray for it. You know that it's not self-generating, it's got to come in from somewhere else. And so I do believe in the power of prayer. It will just open you up. It will turn the light on. It will give you, it may only give you a few steps forward of what you can do this morning or this afternoon or tonight or a couple of days or a couple of weeks, but you will find the next step if you ask for it, I
I
believe.
agree wholeheartedly with that, Pen. And I think that in my life, yeah, my life's been full of tragedy.
Mhm.
Lost a handicapped daughter, and my wife's gone, and things like that. So and several friends now at my age, they've all made the big step. But the point is that the spiritual world will guide you, but they'll only show you the next step. They won't show you step 2 or 3 or 4 because you haven't taken that next step. It's like going up a step ladder. You have to take the next step. You can't take 2 or
To see
3,
the next step. Yeah.
or you'll fall down. So, well said. I agree wholeheartedly with how people do it. So, to give people hope, because you have free will and free choice, you have to ask or pray. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Mhm.
The angels are there going, well, we'll wait till he's asked and we can't interfere until. And so your point about, asking and praying and looking forward to the next step, I agree on my heart, 100%. That's the way it is. So tragedy and difficulty has its purpose, and everybody plays their role. I found that to have you write this amazing book about how the Angel Scrolls challenges people's belief. Well, if you're a thinking, mindful, serious person, you're going to look forward. You're going to accept those challenges. If you're not, well, there's always next time. There's another experience. We live for an eternity. You'll get it sooner or later. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm reminded of that joke of the man that keeps praying to God, like, please let me win the lottery. Please let me win the lottery. And he goes on for months and months. And finally, God says to him, please buy a lottery ticket.
Yes.
I think maybe that's what Jesus said when he said, be as little children, because when we're children, we don't need to know the future. We live very much in the moment. And I think as we get older, we feel like we have to know. We have to know all the steps. We've got to know where we're going to be in 5 years. People write a 5-year plan, right? And so there's something counter intuitive about surrendering and giving up control and asking for the next step, rather than saying, I'm going to sally forth. I know how I should be. I know the path, and I'm going to go marching down it. And that's why, I've come to the point where I don't know. I don't claim to know more than I know. I just know from my own experience. I'm not going to grandstand here and tell people what to believe. I'm just on my path trying to discern, like you said, my way through the forest. So I'm not making pronouncements about God and religion, what people should do. I'm just saying that in Buddhism, they say that the goal is the path, right?
That's right.
We evolve based on the steps that we take, and we take those steps based on what our mental attitude is. We either go clomping forward with our limited knowledge, or we open ourselves up to the divine and are led where we're supposed to go.
Well said. Well said. Go slow, because today is the most important moment in your entire existence.
Yeah.
And we're always wasting our life, wishing it away. Oh, vacations are coming up. I can't wait. So, well, what about today? And again, the older you get, the more tenacious and direct and you are. I'm going to tell you a story about what my master told me. The more tenacious you are and the more aggressive you are, the less you see. So very long time ago, 1974, I asked Ross Peterson with my very first encounter with spirituality. And I asked him, I said, what's my life lesson? I was 24 years old. And he said, ye will learn patience. And I was relieved. I thought, oh my God, so it wasn't something, I don't really bad or terrible. So I said to him, really, that's wonderful. How long will it take? And he said, you will learn patience whether you endeavor to or not. And so from that moment to this, I'm still somewhat of an impatient man. And for my friends out there, if you've heard me say this before on my radio shows and podcasts and whatnot, impatience is getting past the moment, and learning patience, as he said I would, is like talking to you is the most important thing in the world right now. And I'm reminded when your show was talking to Mary and Martha, or the two Marys, and one was sweeping out the house and she's admonishing the other Mary, says, we've got guests coming over. Come on, you lazy person. And your show turns and says, hey, let up. This is the most important thing. The man and the woman talking to each other on the front porch. I never ever forgot that when I realized that saying, and I try to put it together in my life. The most important thing is now those things in your mind, you know, those fights, those battles, what you're going to do, the court case, paying the rent, whatever. I can advise people, say, tell yourself you're not going to do that, because 90% of what you are thinking about the future never happens. What happens right now, and what happened to Claire and her journey and her putting these three pictures together, being divinely used, if I can say that, for a divine mission, and then you writing about this, the most important thing right now. And so those words are forever, by the way. The Angel Scroll challenges this lady to incorporate psychic phenomena and metaphysical claims. You can turn it around and say insights, spiritual illumination. You can change the terms, and I'm with you, Pen. I don't like terms because they're too limiting. And you can turn that around in your own life. If you're listening to this show, go out and get this book, The Angel Scroll. I love the title. How did you come up with that?
That was the name of the Dead Sea Scroll that they found. It was the Angel Scroll, and I just
Wow.
thought, ooh, I mean, angels are just so compelling anyway. But I wanted to just pick up on what you said, that every lesson I've ever learned, I've learned it the hard way. You know, I am short on patience. Patience is not a virtue that I have known. You know,
It's what I
I can be
guarantee it's what you're going to learn.
I can be quick to anger. You know, I mean, as you get older, you know, your prayer becomes, please stop me from getting in my own way. Like everything that goes wrong, it's because I got in my own way. You know, I thought I knew better. I thought I knew it all. So I envy those peaceful, tranquil people who just seem to glide through life. Because I've bounced off a lot of walls, and
Yeah, but
that's
it
that's
had
my
to
joy.
be.
And then you get the pain from that. You learn the hard lesson. It stimulates a lot of introspection, and then you vow to do better.
You get
Um,
there. You get to
yeah,
the end. You get
takes
down
it
the
takes a
hallway.
minute though. Takes a minute.
Well, that's the whole thing about the wisdom of those experiences. All of a sudden, you're saying, I keep banging my head on the wall. Let's not do that. And instead of praying for not getting in your own way, may I suggest pray for peace. I've
Yeah.
just started that the last couple of years. I say, I pray for peace. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for my life. I pray for peace. And you know what? Things aren't so tough. I still have same problems, but at least I have peace now. And my blood pressure is normal, so everything's working okay. And I don't lose track of, oh yeah, I got it so and so, got to touch whatever. I just go, okay. I'm still disappointed in people because I have expectations, and when you have expectations for other people, you're bound to be disappointed. So don't have expectations. I love talking to you, Pen. You're on a path, you're on a mission. And I can see maybe a movie coming out of this, or maybe a Netflix something or other, because uh, as much as you're being casual about it, this was an enormous amount of work. As much as you were being guided by those divine forces, you had to sit down at that computer and you had to go through and polish it up. And I wonder, were you showing the success in the beginning of what was going to happen in the end? Did they give you a little teaser that way?
I had a feeling. I was excited about the book because of what it meant to me, because it sort of represented my thinking and journeying, and but you have to differentiate between, what is it they say, people don't look out of the window, they look in the mirror. So I was both excited but also trying to temper my expectations, to your point, because one expectation is too many. So I think finally published it with the thought of just put it out there, and just, what was it Mother Teresa said? I'm not here to be successful, I'm here to be faithful. So, just do what you're supposed to do and don't get hung up on, the outcomes, because it makes you freeze if if you think it has to be a certain way. It can paralyze you. So that's my attitude. Like, I've written it. I hope it will touch some people. It won't touch other people. Other people will, they can start a bonfire with it if they don't like it.
Now. Let's go and say they could put it on their shelf and they could read it every day. Open it up to a page and you'll get inspiration from that page. Whenever your situation, I guarantee you open it up. There's a name for that kind of divinity where you open a book up and there's the answer. When I
Yeah.
first practiced that, I was amazed. I opened the Bible up, and there's exactly what I needed to know. Or if somebody read somebody's book, I'd open it up. I wouldn't need to read the whole book. There was the answer on that page. So
Love that.
that's what people should do with your book. They shouldn't start bonfires with it. No.
I do that too. I think that is a wonderful way of inviting inspiration and synchronicities to just open a book. And how many times do you read a passage or a word or get an insight that and you say, it's just coincidence, but it's not. We're very quick to discount these little nudges
And that's the wisdom of the ages. If you have patience, you read something, and if you really disagree with it, and you really think it's wrong, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is provoking you to have a look at your beliefs. And poor Claire, this lady, Claire Lucas, mesmerizing paintings, and then showing that there's some divine purpose. That's how I find life is. We find out that our life is really important somehow. We dismiss it. Yeah, I saved somebody's life. I jumped in the river and pulled them out. No big deal. But that might have been the whole reason you were born, is to save that person, because that person goes on to do something amazing.
Yeah.
And trying not to evaluate ourselves. It's kind of like, yeah, you screwed up again. Okay, don't do that again, and you're blessed. Do it again, and you're a fool. Don't do it again. And so, as what's the last word that you would like to share with people, Pen? I mean, this is an amazing story, and I find your practical spirituality here in how you've woven it through this story. From what I know so far, what would be the last word to people today?
Well, I just wanted to comment too that you're familiar with Gurdjieff, of course, and Gurdjieff, the Russian mystic, claimed that art is a direct experience. It's tied to archetypes and sacred geometry. So when we look at a piece of art, it works in our unconscious. It creates. So I was very fascinated with this idea that rather than reading and having to interpret, that that's why in the Renaissance period, the churches were filled with beautiful iconography. The book goes into that too.
Wow.
How the story of Jesus came through art, and sacred geometry. The Christ and Mary are often in these almond-shaped flames, the Vesicapiscus. So art ties sacred geometry together, which of course acts on you in a different way than if you're reading something and having to interpret it. So I kind of included that. My last word is exactly what you're all about, which is it's practical spirituality, which is to stay open, stay curious, stay asking for inspiration, try and, forge relationships with the like-minded people, the law of attraction. You know that you're doing something right when good people start coming into your life.
And they always do, I think, when the like attracts like, as they say, right? So show us the book. You've got a copy right behind you there, I think.
See if I can get it to focus, because sometimes it's a little
right there's fine. Just tilt it forward a little bit. No, there's no sheen on it. That's fine. A little further back towards you. There you go, my friend.
That's sacred geometry. I think that's the seed of life. And then right in the middle there, we have the Vesicapiscus, which is where in sacred geometry, the unconscious and the conscious meet. It represents the womb. Jesus was born from Mary's womb. So there's a lot of symbolism, fascinating symbolism in Vesicapiscus. And in early Celtic Christianity, they had goddess worship. So they had the goddess carved on the side of the early Christian churches. So there's that wonderful melding of Celtic paganism colliding with Christianity. And it's very rich. People should, it's fascinating. I hope it stimulates people to find out more.
Well, I love the cover. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you design that yourself?
I liked the image. The publisher designed, they said that they were very kind, because often publishers don't give you that kind of leeway, but they said they're particular images, and I just loved that image. And then the designer at the publishing house did a beautiful job. turning
Well,
it into a cover.
it's wonderful talking to you.
Likewise.
Everybody, the place to go is penelopeholt.com,
Yes.
and you will enjoy this amazing book, The Angel Scrolls. I'm your host, Douglas James Cottrell. This brings us to the end of another inspirational episode of The Global Village. I hope you found today's discussion as enlightening, as motivating as I did. Remember, the journey to personal and spiritual growth is ongoing, and every step you take brings you closer to your goals. A big thank you to our guest, Penelope Holt, for sharing your wisdom and insights with us today. Don't forget to check out Penelope's new book, penelopeholt.com. And until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and stay connected to the global village of seekers and achievers. I'm your host, Douglas James Cottrell, wishing you peace and prosperity and a journey filled with light. Until next time, God bless.